The New York Jets are 0-6, own the worst record in football, and it might be one of the worst seasons Jets fans have suffered, believe it or not, if you could really actually believe that, since 15 years of suffering has been the reality for the Jets. But I will break down what's happening next for this team. Can it get better? Can it get worse? In the future of a brand new regime could be in jeopardy. But before we get into it, welcome back, everybody, to the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. As always, Joe Scardo, your host. Please subscribe to the channel if you've not already liked the video. If you actually liked it, you could also follow me on social media platforms, such as on X and on Instagram at Turn Up the Jets. All one word. Appreciate the support. So I will be releasing the preview of the Jets Panthers most likely either tomorrow, Friday, or Saturday. I just wanted to wait until the final injury reports are out, since the Jets might be in complete shambles in terms of their wide receiver room with Garrett Wilson, who injured his knee last week. Josh Reynolds has been on the injury report all week. So I just wanted to wait, and I figured, I had time to digest that just horrific loss that they suffered against Denver in London. And can it get better, or is it just going to continue to get worse? Like, can it actually get worse? I don't know. I guess it could. The Jets obviously are just not a good football team right now. No, they simply aren't a good football team. Their offense was absolutely just clueless last week. The coach is clueless. They can't stop a nosebleed. The one time they did, they couldn't score anything on offense at 80 plus total yards. It's just, it just hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse since way back when. It feels like this happened 35 years ago, week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have gotten significantly worse each and every week. And I know we want to blame the coach, right? And I've said it. If they win 2 or 3 games, they definitely could go one and done with Aaron Glenn. It could be Jared Mayo and the Patriots all over again. A former very good player of the team, coaching that team who he played with and had success with, goes in, gets the job, and gets fired after one terrible year. And this is kind of trending towards that way. And yes, we should give Aaron Glenn time, right? He's a rookie head coach. He's never done this before. But at the same time, this is what happens when you hire a rookie head coach and a rookie GM and a rookie offensive coordinator. Like, the Jets fall for the same trap every single hiring process when they're in the market. Every single time. I don't know if it's a Woody Johnson ego type thing that he wants to get praised if he brings in a rookie coach and they win and doesn't want to clash heads with the guy who's been around the block, or that's not the case, and guys who have been around the block are just not interested in the job. And, the desperate guys who haven't gotten an opportunity are the only ones that are expressing interest. I don't know. I'm out in the building. I have no idea. But it seems like this path has not worked. The Jets have not been in the playoffs in 15 years. The Jets haven't had a winning record in 10 years. It's been bad football. Poorly coached football, all of the above. And believe it or not, I think this is the worst it's been. And the Jets had Adam Gase. Adam Gase's first year started 1-7. People might forget he won 7 games that year. Yeah, they had a horrific schedule at the end of the year, but the Jets have a lot of winnable games here too. And I'm not saying they're going to win 7-9. I'm just saying it's bad. It's worse than Adam Gase. That 2020 team, are any of these guys even in the league anymore? Like, that was one of the worst rosters in football. One of the worst rosters I've ever seen. But somehow a team with way more talent 5 years later than that Jets team in 2020 who went 2-14, I think is worse. I do. Other than last week, the defensive-minded head coach, his defense has been brutal. Can't get off the field in third down. It took them 6 games to create a turnover from a guy who took his first snap as a Jet in Jarvis Brownlee Jr. At least you traded for him. That dude might be something. But it took you 6 weeks. 6. No team has ever done that. The clock management is atrocious. He doesn't know how to manage his timeouts. I get he's never done it before. But the thing is, like, you only brought in Steve Wilks. Banjo's a first-time special teamer. I already mentioned Angstrom, first time offensive coordinator. Like, this is what happens when you bring guys in that have had little to none experience in the job that they've received. Like, we didn't expect this team to be great. We didn't even expect this team to be good. I was hoping for maybe a competitive, better coach team that we saw last year, and it's worse. It's way worse. Look at Albrecht's defense in Atlanta. Look it. They just shut down Buffalo, who put up 30 points, probably could have put up 50 against the Jets in week 2. 14 points Buffalo scored in that game. Albrecht's defense looked unbelievable. And I think statistically, they have the number 1 ranked offense in football, number 1 ranked defense, rather, in football. So, like, what is going on? Why can't it never go the way fans want it to go? So here's what I have to say. With Aaron Glenn, you got to give him the whole year. People say they want him fired now. That's crazy. You don't fire Aaron Glenn now. Who are you going to hire? Steve Wilkes, who people wanted fired 2 weeks ago? I mean, it's just not going to happen. You can't. I do think there's a chance that he could go one and done. But his chance right now is to win football games, to gain trust that people actually see that this team is getting better. It's the worst team in football. Easily. Them in Tennessee. But at least Tennessee has a win. The Jets can't win. They can't finish games. They have been in games. They had the lead late in the fourth quarter against the Steelers. They had the lead with 1 minute left against the Buccaneers. They had the lead late in the fourth against the Broncos last week. But that's when coaching comes into consideration here. When you can't finish, that is on coaching. I get it. Aaron Glenn isn't running the ball and fumbling. And Aaron Glenn isn't having negative 10 net passing yards. But the thing is, Aaron Glenn is in charge of how he manages the clock and how he takes his timeouts and deciding whether or not to put Justin Fields, who had one of the worst QB performances ever, on the field in 4th and 8 instead of attempting a 62-yard field goal with one of the best kickers in the league in Nick Folk. That's on the coach. But I'm not here to jump down his throat and say he needs to be fired. The Jets need to win at least 4 games, I think, to get my trust. And that's not even like, 4, woo. Robert Saleh went 4-13 his first year. But again, it's hard to really argue for Glenn because that roster was also way worse. They had a rookie quarterback. They had a rookie OC. They had a rookie DC. They had rookies everywhere. You think a lot of first-timers on this staff, there was all first-timers on that staff with Robert Saleh in his rookie year as a head coach. But what you did see was that the team was getting better and the defense had some, potential. And then the next year, if it wasn't for really bad quarterback play, who knows? The Jets maybe would have broke the streak of not making the playoffs. But I don't want to dive into old wounds here. But with Aaron Glenn, I mean, he needs to be more, I think, he needs to coach at more urgency, rather. Like, he's been talking so much, and I've stopped listening to his weekly conferences. I can't do it anymore. I just can't. And we said this in I remember early preseason that, this act is going to get old quick if you don't win football games. But the thing is, like, he is talking like he has X amount of years to get this thing going. You could, but if it's this bad, how do you still believe in that? You simply can't. You simply cannot believe that you have all this time to get it fixed. Like, if I was the Jets, I'd start Tyrod Taylor this week. I would. I mean, what do you have to lose? Justin Fields is 0-5 as a starter. He's never won a game when his defense is giving up 21 points. That experiment is failed. I don't care if his stats look good before last game. I don't. It was all garbage time. It doesn't matter. If he had some sense of urgency, A, he wouldn't have ran the clock out at the end of the first half last week, and B, he would have put Tyrod Taylor in at the start of the third quarter. He didn't have it. You could have started him next week, even if you put Tyrod Taylor in. If Taylor had 1 or 2 good drives, they probably win that game because the defense was really, really good. And the Broncos offense was really, really bad. It was one of the worst games ever. We woke up at 9:30 to watch that shit. It was garbage. But that's the thing. Like, Aaron Glenn just seems that like his job isn't on the line. It absolutely is. I'm not saying he should be fired now. No, he shouldn't. But he should act as if his job is on the line. Because it is. We don't want to hear that Justin, is a good leader and Justin does this and does that. And, I talk about my Detroit days, and nobody wants to hear about Detroit. Nobody wants to hear about the Detroit Lions. Because guess what? You weren't the head coach of the Detroit Lions. You weren't the one who turned them around. You certainly helped, but it was Dan Campbell's doing. So I don't care about the damn Detroit Lions in 2021 or 2020 or whatever. The Detroit Lions are now one of the best teams in the NFC. That's all I care about, but I don't care how they started because the Jets fans been doing this for 15 years. They have been what the Detroit Lions went through prior to really hitting the jackpot with Dan Campbell and then Jared Goff and then drafting Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson and all these dogs. The Jets don't have that. So I feel like if you're Aaron Glenn, you got to figure something out, whether it's starting Tyrod Taylor or making changes of play calling. I know we kind of called for Wilkes' head last week. I did, but I think he deserved another week for sure. They called a great game. He called a great game. His staff did well. They really made Bo Nix just look confused out there, uncomfortable. I think Jermaine Johnson's presence was very well known. But like, I'm just sick of the same answers and, things will get better and things don't, start off the way we always want it to be. And I'm playing Legos, the Lego shit and all the stupid quotes, all like the Salah quotes. I'm done with it. Win a damn football game. Seriously. That's all we want. Can we just we just want you to show one sign that this football team is getting better. And it's not. It's getting worse and worse and worse. The product they put on the field has been an absolute embarrassment. Embarrassment. My whole Instagram feed is just memes clowning on this team. And you get sick of it. You get sick of it. So can it get better or can it get worse? I have no idea. It could get better. What makes it better is wins. And the Jets would have to start this week against Carolina. Is it a winnable game? It should be. But the state of this team, it's hard to believe that it is. 5 weeks ago, you looked at this part of the schedule. You felt good about it. No one feels good about it anymore. The Jets play the Panthers, the Bengals, and the Browns. If they lose all three of those leading up to the Thursday night game against New England, who, by the way, is in first place in the AFC East now. If they're 0-9 and you lose to all three of those teams, Bryce Young, Joe Flacco, and Dylan Gabriel, then I don't think there's any hope for Aaron Glenn. I don't. I simply don't. Because that's just all-time bad. Like you're halfway through of being an 0-17 team if that happens. And those are three teams that are also kind of in shambles. Outside the Panthers. I don't expect them to beat the Panthers this week. Panthers won back-to-back games. They just beat Dallas, who the Jets couldn't even stand on the same field with 2 weeks ago. I don't expect the Panthers. I don't expect the Jets to beat the Panthers. I don't. 5 weeks ago, you felt like you could when Bryce Young, I think it was that one of those horrendous games it was the Patriots game when they lost 42-13 or whatever. But they've had 2 nice wins in a row against Miami and then Dallas. Both at home, but still, they they had 2 nice wins. They're 3-3. Like, they're a 500 team. They're a better football team than the Jets right now. But teams like the Bengals and the Browns, who are banged up, don't have their quarterbacks, especially the Browns starting a rookie quarterback. I mean, Gabriel, my goodness, last week. Some of those throws weren't even close. Some of those throws almost killed his wide receivers. If you're 0-9, like there is no hope. I still don't think there's a lot of hope here. My thing is, Glenn has to coach with more urgency. Glenn has to realize that his job is on the line. It is. It's the simple fact that it's on the line. Because if you're the worst team in football, you have the number 1 overall pick, why the hell would Woody Johnson and company trust you to say, hey, here's the keys. I gave you the keys all this first year. Woody Johnson, keep your mouth shut. Continue, because this is proving his point. Woody Johnson does not say anything this year. He's let Aaron Glenn do whatever he wanted. Basically called Muji his sidekick. So you're handing over the keys to a rookie head coach who's never done this before and giving him a lot of responsibility. If he goes 2-15, 3-14, and you have the number 1 overall pick with a lot of quarterbacks to choose from, and it's going to make it even harder because there's really not that one that separates themselves from the others. Like we thought it could have been Nussmeier. We thought it could have been Sellers. We actually thought it could have been Klubnik or Allard, who's now out for the season. But like nobody has separated themselves to be the consensus number 1 overall pick. So why the hell would you put this regime in charge of making the right decision? Why? Especially of how bad it's been. There's been no fight. There's been nothing to be happy about. It's been an all-time low type season. So why in the world would we ever put our hope on this regime if they win 2-3 games and have the number 1 pick and getting it right and getting a decision that the Jets have never gotten right? And that's in drafting the right quarterback and developing him the right way. You did this with Darnold. Bowles and his staff were in the hot seat. You continue to keep him in the 2018 season. You let that regime with McCagnon draft Sam Darnold. It was horrific. They went 4-12, I think. Missed the playoffs, obviously, by a large margin. And each year after the 15 season, they got worse. Bowles gets fired. Gase comes in. He's traded in 2 years after that. That's how you ruin a quarterback. With Sam Darnold's now, I think, leading the league in passing yards. The Seahawks are 4-2. The Seahawks are a good team. I still think they're going to win that division. So, like, you can't. So Glenn has to act like there's a chance that you don't have a job next year, dude. Like, you don't. Well, I'm talking to a player, in the locker room, and we were talking about, the future, and, we have a couple years to get this thing. You don't have a couple years. You barely have a couple games. So figure it out, man. Seriously. If the Jets are 0-9, like, that's an all-time bad. We'll see. We'll see. Preview of the Panthers Jets. Like I said, Friday or Saturday will be coming up. Recap will be followed by on Monday. Appreciate everyone for watching. Subscribe to the channel. If you not already liked the video, if you actually liked it, you can also follow me on social media platforms such as X and on Instagram @TurboJets, all one word. I am done. That is all. See you next time. See ya.